for Cigar Talk, the fastest growing cigar show in the nation. Whether you're a new cigar enthusiast or a cigar aficionado, we have something for everyone, bringing you the best interviews, cigar reviews, and weekly giveaways. So grab yourself a cigar.
It's time to light 'em up.
Welcome back to Cigar Talk. I'm your host, Rob Jones. This week we have a great show lined up for you. We head to Brenham, Texas, where we'll head over to Marigols Fine Tobacco Lounge. Talk to the owner, Bruce. He hand rolls all his own cigars. Got a great story. He's fourth generation in the tobacco business. Then we'll talk to Green Side Cigar owner, Ty, and get his story. They sent me a couple of cigars. I wanted to share them with you. And then, of course, we'll hear from Cigar Man official. We'll get his cigar tip of the week. Then we'll talk about the Cigar Talk Trivia question. And then, of course, I'll give you my cigar of the week. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor. Welcome back to Cigar Talk. I'm your host, Rob Jones. We're at a really cool shop near Brenham, Texas, and we're here with the owner, Bruce. And tell us about your shop, Bruce.
All right. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate you having me with you today.
Well, thank you.
All right. So Marigols Fine Tobacco started back, it's gone through a couple name iterations over the years. Marigols Fine Tobacco here in Brenham. My great-grandfather started in 1912 with his brothers, and my grandfather was a cigar guy. My dad was a cigar guy. Actually, one of my daughters is a cigar. She worked for a buddy of mine in Austin.
Really?
She, she gets involved. My wife is involved. It's a family thing. I hope to get my grandson involved one day. But anyway, we're unique in where we used to carry our cigars and all the other major brands. We found that we were selling our hand rolls that we do, all organic leaf. We were selling ours at more than 10 to 1 over everything combined.
Wow.
So eventually we just said, you know what? We're just going to go with ours. People love it. They love that it's organic. They love that we hand roll it. We tell them they're made with love and tobacco, of course.
Right. So
we don't use anything artificial, which is great. We make sure, again, that the leaf is organic. We don't want anything grown where all the great leaves are grown, whether it be Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Brazil, Sumatra, Indonesia, all these places. You never know. Some of them are still using things like DDT and whatever pesticides. So we insist on buying only organic leaf so we control what we have. And we also use only aged leaf. So right now we are enjoying our Dark Invader, we call this one. This is we're Rob and I are having our Robusto right now. And this is an Oscuro Maduro.
Well, I'll tell you, it's really nice because the retrohale is so smooth, which is a top indication that it's aged.
Right. I was going to say this leaf and all of my leaf are aged. So
very nice.
Some of the Maduro on the bale, I've got a bale I'm still working off of that was harvested in 1985. The newest wrapper that I use right now is our Connecticut Shade, being a more mild, and it was harvested in 2002.
Wow.
And the secret to a great cigar, in my opinion, is, and your opinion is very valuable to me.
No cigar is ready before its time.
Right, exactly. We make them fresh out of aged leaf, and the aged and the organic, and then the quality of the roll. So whether I'm rolling or my rollers who are either from Cuba, the guys that grew up rolling, or the ones that I train, we want to make sure it's firm enough, it's tight enough without having to get that McDonald's milkshake through a straw.
Yeah, that's what I like.
So you get a smooth draw, consistent. You don't want it spongy. You don't want it too tight. You want it to burn just right. And I'm looking at mine. I'm looking at yours. We've got some nice even burns going.
Perfect.
So,
well, I was going to ask you, how long have you been rolling?
I have been rolling I've been smoking since 1964. Not bad for a guy that's only 25 years old. I've been rolling since 1960. I got to think of how old I am here. I've been rolling since 1968.
1968. That's a year before I was born.
Yeah, 51 years I've been rolling. So I'm almost to the point where I'm a professional.
Getting close.
I'm still a rookie, but I'm learning.
So how old were you in 68?
I was 9 years old.
So you started rolling at 9.
Yeah. My grandfather gave me my first one. I was 5. My dad saw me smoking, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, smoking a cigar? He says, I know that. Why? I said, well, Grandpa gave it to me. He kind of shook his head a minute and says, okay, well, you know the rules. Because they'd always talked about the rules. When I was old enough to smoke, you don't sneak them, you ask.
Nice.
And moderation.
Right.
And even to this day, as much as I enjoy my cigars, I do try and make sure I still have relative, we'll say relative moderation. We already talked about how many we've smoked this morning before we started doing
moderation is depends on who's giving you the definition.
Exactly, right? I love it.
I smoke in moderation too. I
Yeah.
never, like Mark Twain said,
Yes.
I never smoke
Yeah,
more than one at a time.
That's right. I smoke in moderation, only one cigar at a time.
That's right.
Mark Twain, I believe, smoked close to 30 a day, if I recall. Is that the number?
I don't know how many
And
smoked.
George Burns was 20 a day, and he lived to be 100. My grandfather, who died at 92, he'd been run over by a horse and wagon in 1906, so he'd had health issues that were not related.
Right.
Still lived in 92. My great grandfather lived in 96.
Wow.
So I'm celebrating a milestone today myself. So if I can hit another 36 years and hit my great grandfather, I'll be just fine.
You'd be happy with that.
I'll be happy with that. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Before I started smoking, my voice sounded like this. No.
And you had less hair on your chest.
Yeah, and more on my head.
Right. So I'll tell everybody, when I got here, Bruce gave me a tour of the shop, and I'll post a video on the iTunes. I'll post a video on Instagram, and we'll do a live tour so you guys can see it. But it's a really cool retro feel. You come in, you have this retro furniture, you got lighting, you've got a great purification system so that there's not smoke in here. I go to a lot of lounges, and you have that heavy cloud that just kind of hangs about a foot over your head. We've been smoking in here, and there's no smoke hanging anywhere. So you've done a great job on the shop, the lounge. You guys also do pipe tobacco.
Pipe tobacco, and we even do our own, and that's, again, all organic, natural flavors, everything we do. And we do the shisha tobacco for hookahs. So, and I know you're not real familiar with that, and we're going to stick with cigars, but most people that are familiar with hookah, and I know there are a lot of folks that cross over, and I didn't show it to you, but I will before you leave today. Most hookah tobacco that you're going to buy anywhere is bright red. They put a food coloring in it.
Oh.
In artificial flavors. And I showed you ours, and you smelled just one of mine. I think you smelled our tropical mint. Flavoring on that is, again, all natural. So we're using natural lemon, lime, orange, coconut, and mint from my wife's organic garden. So we keep everything natural.
Well,
and
I'll tell you,
coloring.
I've really never even thought about smoking a hookah. But after you showed me it, I was kind of like, well, you know what? One day I'm going to come back down here and try a hookah, just because it was very interesting to look at that tobacco. Oh. It's not like anything I've seen before, and
it's processed totally different. Yeah.
Well, and the way you were talking about putting the tobacco in the top and then putting the coal on top, that sounds interesting. Yeah. So it's not really my thing, but I definitely would like to try it sometime.
It's not necessarily mine. I enjoy it when I do it. It's much lighter. Even though these cigars are going to be smooth, hookah is different in that you're not burning your tobacco per se. You're not setting it on fire. You've got coals over the top, so it heats it.
And it's also being filtered through water.
It's filtered through water, so you're not getting you're not getting the tars and things like that, but you do get the nicotine. That's a wow factor.
Well, see, that's one of the things that made me want to try it.
We'll have to try that sometime in the future.
He said it's about 15 times more nicotine, maybe.
Oh, I don't even. Yeah, it's strong. People are amazed when they stand up if they're first time hookah smokers, and what I make compared to the commercially available bright red stuff that comes in the plastic. I control the nicotine content by how much I purify my tobacco by rinsing it.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Did not know that.
I'll actually have to do that one time. If you come back, I'll actually show you the process.
Oh, I'm definitely going to come back.
So,
yeah. So when did you decide to open up this lounge here in Brenham?
Well, this is our second lounge in Brenham.
Oh, okay.
Actually, our third, excuse me. This is my third in Brenham. So this one we opened up about, I want to say it's probably been 4 or 5 weeks ago. We had outgrown the spot we were in before. You know from being in here, and I guess you'll have the pictures. People can get an idea. This is a good-sized lounge, tall ceilings, so we keep everything nice and fresh. Our other spot was about a third, maybe less than a third the size of this.
Oh, okay.
And you get in there, especially, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, the day, it's Sundays, the days where we tend to be more crowded, and we'd be just packed to where people enjoy it. We're sitting around with, everybody's got that same thing in common. We're going to smoke a cigar. We're going to solve the world's problems, maybe tell a lie or two, and enjoy an adult beverage. But we would get crowded, and so we decided we needed a bigger spot that we could expand. So that's when we went here. And like you mentioned, our retro look, our furniture, what our look was, we went for a mid-century Las Vegas casino lounge.
Oh, I love it,
I think
man.
we pulled it off. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So our furniture's authentic. Our ashtrays, as you can see, those are all 50s. Even that smoking stand next to you is actually a humidor. I don't know if you noticed that. And there's another one on the other side. So those are actually authentic to
Nice.
the period as well. So we try and keep it all. It's just a consistency. It makes it different, I think, than any experience you'll have.
Well, your logo's perfect too, because it looks like you're on the strip. Yeah, you knocked the home run with this one.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I love the furniture. You go into a lot of shops and you see the same style over and over.
Which I have for years, and I'll say my first lounge here in town was more that style.
Which is fine.
Oh yeah, there's
but
nothing wrong. That's what we've come to expect.
Great to have something different. And so,
thank you.
When you think of different, you think of something new. But what's cool about what you've done is you've made something new by going back in time.
Right.
Which is very cool.
Right. And it's funny. And, of course, I got a little bit when I normally in the evenings, I will dress, if you can think of the Rat Pack in some of the movies where, you have Frank Dean, Sammy, Peter, and Joey Bishop, and they'd all have, their tuxedos and things. So I will wear my tuxedo. I'll often wear my top hat while I'm in here.
Nice.
The ladies that work for us, guys will do, I've got a vest on, we try and dress kind of the period. The ladies wear like the 50s cocktail dresses.
Very
nice. We like to keep the image. However, I want to make it clear that we don't discriminate. We don't care if you come in here. We get a lot of the roughnecks from the oil field just because of our proximity to the oil here in Texas. We get the guys that come in there with their coveralls on, or we'll get people coming from the lake, which is close by, in their shorts or their bathing suits. Whatever you come in, be comfortable, because that's how I am. I'm comfortable in whatever I do, and I want you to do the same. When we have a cigar,
you're having a cigar.
We're having a cigar. We're not in a hurry. We're not that cigarette smoker.
Right.
That's, between breaks once an hour, they're out in the parking lot or wherever they have to go anymore, just smoking it as quick as they can. The cigar is the experience, taking the time.
Exactly. If you don't have time for a cigar,
you're doing it wrong.
Don't smoke a cigar. Yeah, right. You're doing it wrong.
Right. And the bottom line is we tell people, I guess an unofficial slogan we have here is, you may come in a stranger, but when you leave, anybody in the lounge, you're a friend. And we even do a little bit different, a little off the subject of the lounge, but I do about 2 to 3 times a year in the winter months. We don't ever get super cold down here in Texas, southeast Texas, but I live out in the country. We've got a big bonfire pit, so
nice.
We do what we call, and I hope it's okay if I say the word.
Oh, absolutely.
We call it bonfire, bourbon, beer, and bullshit.
Nice.
And I invite all of our regular customers, our members to the lounge, and then anybody else, if we've got room. I try to keep it about 30 people or so. And we just put that out. We'll put it out on our Facebook page or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is.
Well, now you know I'm going to want to invite.
Well, yeah, you're going to want to come. And the other thing we do, and I probably should add another beat of the bonfire, bourbon, beer, bullshit. We do barbecues. So I'll fire up the smoker and the grill. So last time we had guys, nobody brought up, we did, because it's an evening thing and it's quick. We didn't do any traditional brisket, our staple food down here.
Right.
But we had guys bringing ribs. We had guys bringing steaks and burgers and sausage. And, people, they bring their meat, and we just make it into the experience. But it's the same thing we carry through here. So in the lounge right now, we're BYOB. We will be changing, hopefully, depending on how it goes with liquor license and so forth, to having top shelf, bourbons and, rum. I mean, just good top shelf scotch, whatever your favorite is with your cigar, or the traditional cocktails that kind of go with our mid-century Rat Pack feel.
theme.
Whether you want your martini, and then craft beers and so forth. So we want to make it. We want your experience always to be not just a great cigar, great company, but just
the overall experience.
And we'll have we even have a poker table in here, so we'll have a gentleman's or gentle ladies game of poker. People will just start playing. They
play Texas Hold'em.
They'll play whatever they want. Yeah,
I got
so
you.
typically on a Friday, Saturday night, Thursday night, very often we have a regular group of guys to do their regular game here, and our rule is you guys do what you want. We can only do chips on the table. We don't. The house can't touch it. We keep it totally legal. What you guys do outside is up to you. But we want it to be
right
a great experience.
Well, so another question I have for you is, are you guys outside the city limits?
No.
So how's the city of Brenham as far as working with you? And
they're good people. They're very business friendly, and I'll tell you, if
That's
anybody
great.
is from out of the area and ever wants to come in, I always tell them. Of course, people in Texas and the south part of the U.S. are all familiar with Bluebell ice cream.
I was just going to ask you about
Bluebell
Bluebell
ice cream. The creamery is about 7 minutes from here, so I'll often tell people in our seasonal shops that we do at various Renaissance festivals and other motorcycle rallies and barbecue festivals. We're not just in the shop. We go to a lot of events and venues and have shops and some of them. But I'll say, if they're interested and they're like, it's a little bit far, I said, well, make it into an experience. Come out, do like a Saturday morning, hit the Bluebell factory, and then you get your ice cream. So they give you your free ice cream after. You can't beat that. And
right.
Then downtown Brenham is just chock full of really cool little shops, and we've got some amazing restaurants now. We've got one of the top of the 6,500 or so craft breweries. The Brazos Valley Brewery, which is in town, is one of the 50 quickest growing in the nation.
Really?
6,500 in the little town of Brenham.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
In the top 50 of the nation.
And they won 3 golds in different categories for their beers here.
And what's the name of that one?
Brazos Valley Brewery. So we're actually, because this lounge is new, if I can throw a little plug in, May 4th, may the 4th be with you for the Star Wars fans, we are going to be doing a grand opening here, and Brazos Valley Brewery will be bringing in the beer, so we'll have free beer, live music, which we have on the weekends anyway, and great cigars.
And what day of the week is that on?
That's a Saturday.
All right, I might have to see if I can get that.
Yeah,
Saturday
so I tell
off.
people, come out, make it into the whole day experience, and we also have some. We actually have I don't know if you notice the cross street we're at here. We're right at a corner at Salem Road. We're on Highway 36 South in Brenham, but just down the road about a mile is a winery. We've got 4 really great wineries in the area, so we've actually had the wineries come in and do tastings. We've got a local home brewers club. They held their meetings here about quarterly. They do monthly meetings, so we host them, and we do that. Well, we did in our other shop. We'll be doing it here. We also are the home of the Zithological Society of North America, which is a fancy way of zithology is the study of beer. And the
okay, I was fixing to say you're going to have to give me the definition on that.
Yes, the Zithological Society of North America, Brenham chapter. There are some other chapters starting, but they're based here. So we're going to be hosting the Beer Club as the simple name for it. They're going to be holding their meeting here in the next few months. I don't know the exact date. And that's always open to the public, so whether you're a member of the club or not, you come in and you pay your $10. They bring in new beers. They bring in they try to bring in somebody from the breweries and this is breweries from all over the place, where they explain the differences and we talk about the beer, and the camaraderie is great with the men and women that show.
Oh yeah, always.
That perfect match with the cigars, and we work with a couple of local distilleries as well. So
there's some local distilleries too. Wow.
We do Bone Distillery, which is in Smithville, south of Austin. They do a bourbon that I will put against any Kentucky bourbon, Bone Bourbon. We've been doing a Bone Bourbon cigar. A lot of people have had the Maker's Mark cigar.
Right.
I personally, I like my Makers, don't get me wrong, but I love the Bone. That's kind of how I started working with these folks. I tried it once and I was like, I got to get to know these guys. So we do a Bone infused. So we don't just infuse like normal, like the Makers would do, where they infuse the leaf a little bit and they dip it. We also take a hypodermic and we inject it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we also do it in the cigarillos, a little, cigarette-sized small cigars, where we'll infuse those with the Bone, and we do a Bone Bourbon pipe tobacco. So we do some pretty unique things.
Nice.
But, yeah,
I didn't know y'all had a distillery around here.
We've got a couple of them, yeah.
Awesome.
And relatively close. Within the hour, there's several. So, yeah.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk
let's
cigars.
talk about, I want to talk about your heritage
Okay.
in the tobacco business. So we're talking, it goes back to your great-grandfather?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we're talking now about 107 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did your great-grandfather do to get into the business?
He immigrated to the United States, didn't speak English.
And where was he from?
He was from Russia.
Okay.
And he needed, he and his brothers needed to support the family that immigrated. So they had been dairy farmers over in Russia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So total different switch. And they were multitaskers too. They eventually got back into that as well as other businesses, but they always had that, the true long-term aficionados, I guess we'll use that terminology, which we've all come to understand.
Very nice. So then your grandfather went into the tobacco business as well?
Right.
And
my dad.
what area did they work in?
They actually went from New York, where they had gone, and they ended up in Michigan. And then I moved it down here to Texas because I had moved from Michigan to Texas.
You're tired of that cold weather.
Absolutely. The only place I like my ice now is in my cocktail.
Nice. So I saw a picture hanging on the wall with you, looked like about 10, 12 years old.
12 years old now.
Holding a cigar.
Me and my dad got our cigars in our hands. Yes,
Very
sir.
nice. That's great. I love the tradition. And you're carrying that on.
Yeah.
Gives a sense of pride in what you do.
Yeah.
And as a cigar smoker, that's appreciated because you're carrying on a tradition that you're proud of, and so that you're going to make the best that you can.
Yeah, I think so. And I've got pictures of my oldest son, who actually turns 31 in a couple of days. I think he was 3, maybe 4 years old, and he's smoking a cigar. Of course, he's smoking in the house back when we'd smoke in the house.
Right.
So, yeah, I got that. And I mentioned to you, my daughter had worked for a friend. She was a student at University of Texas in Austin, so she worked in his shop for years. She worked for me before that.
Nice.
So she knows. I'll tell you what. If you go to our website and look at our flavor profile, she's the one that does that. I get some of it. I can do some profile, but she I don't know if it's growing up with it and just maybe a more keen sense of smell and taste. She can usually smell a cigar burning and tell you where it's sourced.
No kidding.
Very impressive.
Wow.
And
So
you
tell
get
everybody
the notes of this or that.
Tell everybody where they can find your website.
They can find us at margolisfinetobacco.com.
Okay, and just so everybody knows, spell Margolis.
Margolis.
Very
I'll
good.
do that again. Margolis, cigarcompany.com. Actually, I think, did I do that? Yeah, it is. I think I've got to think. I think it's Margolis. It may be Margolis Cigar Co. CO abbreviation. No, it's company. I should know this. I don't.
Right.
I don't
You're
go
not
there
on-
anymore. And we're also on Facebook
you're on
as Margolis
Facebook?
Fine Cigars.
And then you're also on Instagram.
We're on
that's where I found you.
Instagram and we're on Twitter as well. And if you go to our Facebook, it'll draw you.
It all links you together.
Yeah. And we for a while we talked about some of the name iterations. I had done radio and comedy as the Caveman. So
I was wondering where that came from.
So our cigar brand that we do, some of them are called MFT, Margolis Fine Tobacco. People hit that MFT and come up with all kinds of ideas. But most of our cigars will be called a caveman cigar. So if you see a label with a funky little caveman logo, which was my logo back in the days of radio and stand-up, a self-portrait from years gone by. But so some people know us as Caveman Cigar Company.
Okay.
As well. So if you ever see a Caveman cigar, those are our brand. And we also wholesale, so they're available around the state. And you can buy them on the web.
Is your primary market in the Texas area, or do you?
Yeah, primarily.
Okay.
Just to keep it easier from a licensing standpoint, although we do wholesale around the country.
I see.
And we actually do shipments outside of the country for the countries that can import our cigars legally. So we've shipped everywhere from, we ship to the UK, we've shipped to Zimbabwe. I've got good customers over in Zimbabwe that order regularly.
Wow.
Which is, that's kind of
That's wild.
So they know of us in Africa. And even on, we can see on our Facebook, it'll tell us where people follow us there. And we get them from literally every continent. Not Antarctica, as far as I know. Although,
not yet.
What a perfect hand warmer, right?
Right. So you were smoking cigars when you were 12.
I was smoking them when I was 5.
5. Okay. yeah.
Don't tell.
So
Yeah.
did you grow up in the tobacco business and you fell right into it, or did you do some different things?
Well, I of course grew up into it and learned how to roll when I was young, and but like most people that grow up in a family business, it seems that it's one extreme or the other. You just get right into it, or you want to get away from it and become your own person. And,
Right.
And so I've had a varied career. Like I said, radio, comedy. I did politics. I did engineering was my main career. I owned an art gallery. I taught college. I've done. We could
all over the
on.
place.
We could go on, but I never got totally away from it. So even when I wasn't helping the family out in a pinch, which I would do, I was always rolling for myself and for friends.
Oh, nice.
So
So no matter where you were like, hey, send me some tobacco. I'm rolling cigars.
Well, yeah, I'd always make sure I'd always have it. So I'd have the cigars I like best. And I like to try everybody else's. I don't want to say that I don't. I've had, some great sticks from everywhere. And that's how I think I improve my own, is I find the ones that are, I see great ratings in, some of the publications, or, hear about them. And it's like, well, let me try that, see what I think. And some of them I'm disappointed with. Others I'm like, I like that. Let me see what I can't do, reading the description. Or I've gone into shops, and some of the, the big money areas of Houston were about 65 miles, I think, out of Houston, roughly.
Is that how far? I thought it was further than that.
Maybe a little further. Yeah, it might be 80
That's
miles.
pretty close.
Yeah,
so about an hour.
Yeah, about an hour, depending on where, to get to Houston, and if you want to get downtown.
Well, I was going to say it's about an hour to get to Houston, and then another hour to get downtown.
Yeah, and then so we're fairly centrally located. We've got Bryan College Station, Texas A&M, UT. If I'm talking colleges, we want to keep equal opportunity there. Not far from Austin, not terribly far from San Antonio, a little bit further. But so we're a good central location for people that.
Yeah, you're right in the middle, really.
Yeah, we really are, and we go as far. I mean, getting towards San Antonio, for an example. We're currently in a shop in Gonzales, Texas, which is pretty close to there. And
Now, have you been to Fredericksburg?
Oh yeah.
You know, there's a cigar shop there.
I do. I've been there.
Bob
Yeah.
is the owner there. Talk to him about your cigars. He carries great cigars. I bet he would love yours.
You know what? Next time, because we go there about once a year or so. Next time I'm in, I'll have to bring a handful of sticks and give them a sample. That's usually how we get into a shop. Either they find out about us, or when I'm traveling around, I always like to go visit everybody else's, because I love to see what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to
sticks.
do as a cigar shop owner.
Yeah.
Is like, I have a friend who just purchased an older shop, and he's thinking about some different things he wants to do. And I said, in my opinion, if I were you, I'd go to as many shops as I can go to.
Absolutely.
That way you see what you like, what you probably want to stay away from, what fits your personality. And so I know when I go to all these different shops, there's all these things that you love, and there's things that you're like, oh, I do that different.
Yeah.
So if you go to a ton of shops, you can kind of put all the pieces together of what you might want to do.
Exactly.
So, and you've said you've been to hundreds of shops.
Hundreds of shops, and we, like I said, we even wholesale, places in the Northeast, New England area, for example. And I always like to go to different shops. I love going to the old ones that have that family tradition as well. And it's just, for me, it's a joy. And you meet new people, and
it's an adventure.
It is,
and you get to meet so many unique people everywhere you go.
Absolutely. But we always have that
same
common
bond.
We do. We're always taking our time. We're not in a hurry. If we're like I said, I think a little bit ago, if we're in a hurry to smoke our cigar, we're doing it wrong.
Absolutely.
And it's funny. We will have the occasional. Well, not occasional. We get probably once or twice a day. We'll have somebody coming in here looking for a Swisher Sweet or a Backwoods or a Black and Mild, and
right.
And we send them to the convenience store next door. They have what they want.
Right.
And they'll be like, well, why don't you have any of those? And we have what I think, and you're smoking one, so you tell me, is that, in your opinion, but I think we have a very premium cigar, but we price them at the price of a good cigar.
Yeah, I think it's a great cigar.
And thank you very much. And what I tell people that are looking for their dollar stick or their little 5-pack for $3, I said, no offense, but my opinion is cheap cigars aren't good and good cigars aren't cheap. Not to say you have to spend $1 million on a good cigar.
Absolutely.
But if
you
you're,
get
if
what
you're
you
looking
pay
for,
for.
something, in the way of a black and mild, which is, that's Virginia tobacco with flavoring to make it taste like a cigar with brown paper on it. And most people don't even realize that.
Really?
But yeah, it's not ours are 100%.
So it's not tobacco rolled.
We only use full leaf when we make it. We don't have anything chopped. We like that's part of that draw you get it. It makes it draw nice. You've got a nice firm cigar. These things, we lit them up before we started, and they take their time.
We've been smoking these for almost an hour.
Yeah,
and I'm a fast smoker,
so
a Robusto lasted me an hour, and we still have a third to go. That's impressive.
I actually do, and I don't have any here right now. I've got them on one of my. I have them in both my Renaissance Fair shops right now that are going on in Texas. I do a cheroot, just a small little.
The Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, we do, and we actually call ours the Eastwood.
Nice.
As a tribute to Clint. The iteration, and I've improved it over the years. The iteration I'm doing right now, my ring gauge on it, gosh, it's probably about a 32 or so off the top of my head. I should know, but I don't. I just roll them out.
You're close.
I'm just a lowly cigar roller. I make them, you smoke them. But I kid you not, these little things, they're about, they're probably close to 7 inches long. But just a little skinny cigar, about an hour.
Really?
People are blown away. But it's a firm roll, but because it's whole leaf, it burns perfectly. And
wow.
I'll tell people 45 minutes to an hour. And me being a guy that smokes cigars all day long, I get at least 45 minutes. If I'm talking with customers, it may take me an hour.
That's impressive.
So, yeah, people are like...
I've actually only smoked one cheroot size cigar, and I don't know if you know it, but it's the NAS from LFD.
Yeah.
And, the thing about that cigar is it's tiny,
right?
But it's deceiving because it's one of the most high nicotine cigars I've ever smoked.
Right.
And
I believe, what's the wrapper on that? Do you know off the top of your head?
I do not.
Maduro, maybe?
I can't. If I told you, I'd be lying.
That's okay.
I'll have to make sure
to I'll get you some of ours to try. I'll have to put a little package together so you can.
I'd love that
in the future. Yeah.
Well, a cigar smoker, and he's pretty new to cigar smoking. One day he told me, he said, "I want the cigar that has the most nicotine in here." So I went and picked him out one of those. And about an hour later, he was pretty green.
Yeah. That's the hardest thing. I think when we have somebody new that comes in and wants something, and they're, well, what do you recommend? Well, I think I want a dark one. Let me start you off with something a little more mild.
Right.
And it's always telling them, and it's the same with the pipe smokers, because we not only do the pipe tobacco, we sell the pipes, and I even carve pipes as well. But we tell them, just take your time with it. And I'll always say, if you start feeling like you're getting a little buzz, some people think, this is cool, I'm getting a buzz from smoking, and it's legal. I'm like, back off, you're inhaling it.
Right, don't do that.
And new cigar smokers, that's something, especially the cigarette smokers that'll do it, think that, I can handle it, I inhale. Not the same thing.
Not the same thing. And I'll tell you, that's funny, because the same guy I gave that real strong cigar to, probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we're sitting in the cigar lounge smoking cigars, and I look over and he's holding this cigar here and he's exhaling all this smoke, and I said, "Are you inhaling your cigars?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Man, you do not need to be doing that."
No, that's what people don't realize, especially with a good quality cigar. Again, one, it's not got, not the, I'll call them the cheaper, the gas station, convenience store, grocery store type cigars, which again, a lot of those, with the exception of probably a Backwoods, which has leaf on it. But most of those are actually a brown paper. People don't realize it. They just figure
it's really just more like an expensive cigarette.
It really is. But just with the cigar part of our taking our time and, enjoying it, is we do get mellow from that nicotine, because we've got that tobacco is in direct contact with our lips and our tongue. So we're getting all of that nicotine, far more than anybody. And I tell people that smoke cigarettes, I said, you might consider trying to switch to a cigar, because you don't smoke as many of them,
Right.
And you're not putting it into your lungs. And I'm the first person to say, is cigar smoking healthy? I think it's, yes, we have our Surgeon General warnings. We know that. But here I've been smoking for 55 years.
Yeah, and do you have any respiratory problems?
No issues related to it. I mentioned to you earlier before we started recording that my grandfather lived to be 92, my great-grandfather 96, and they smoked cigars up until the end, and it wasn't anything to do with that. Again, yes, we understand. I think anybody that tells you that it's healthy is, not right. But of all the vices we can have, there are far worse. Right.
So, and did you ever smoke regular cigarettes?
I tried it for a while.
Did you?
I tried it for a while.
I smoked cigarettes for about 24 years.
Okay, I did it for years, but not that many years.
And I tell you, and the reason I quit was because it was really affecting my health. And so I haven't smoked cigarettes in probably about 12 years now.
Yeah, I quit cigarettes 34 years ago, actually.
Well, when I went to the doctor to get my physical just 2 weeks ago, they check your breathing and your lungs, and she was like, "Oh, you sound great."
Yeah.
If you would have had me do that when I was smoking cigarettes, they were like, "Whoa, you're wheezing."
Yep.
Well,
you don't. Honestly, you hear about people getting COPD.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't know of anybody who's just been strictly a cigar smoker. Even some of my older folks and members, and I kind of showed you some pictures of some of our more famous folks that we roll for, and I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to put them on the spot. They enjoy their privacy, and I'll respect that. But
he's got some really cool people that buys his cigars.
We do. But one of the oldest ones on there, he's in his 80s, and no COPD. He's like me. He's been smoking since he was a kid. So.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference there.
I think there is.
And to me, I've always thought the biggest difference is you're not pouring a ton of chemicals into the cigars.
Right. But again, that's why I only want to do organic leaf, because if I don't know what's going into it, I don't want to smoke it. And I'm making what I think is a simple assumption. I'm thinking my customers are going to want the same thing. You think about your cigarette when you were doing it. What did that cigarette do when you lit it? It stayed lit all the way to about a quarter inch from the filter,
right.
3/8 of an inch, and then it would put itself out. Tobacco, if you're not puffing on it in its natural state, we set our cigars down for a few minutes, they're going out.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Even when they're rolled perfectly, if you don't smoke it for a few minutes, you're going to relight.
Right.
A cigarette, we've all heard, we've seen the movies, I heard the stories. They put the chemicals in there to make them burn, but they also put that chemical in there to make it addictive and all the other.
Sure.
And a lot of people, when they're trying to get off of cigarettes, will try a cigar. And we've got one of my apprentice rollers. She was a almost 2-pack a day smoker till she came to work for us. And she still smokes a few. She's about 4 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
But she'll smoke a cigar or.
That's because she's in a hurry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But now she did hookah before she came to work for me.
Oh, wow.
And she switched to ours, and so she does hookah and cigars, but she only does the hookah on the weekends or occasionally when she's working. And she said, like I said, down from 2 packs to, say, 4 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
And she says, I feel the difference, Art.
Yeah, that's 40 cigarettes a day on average.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Can you imagine 40 cigars a day? We were talking earlier, Mark Twain with his 30 or whatever.
Right.
I can't even imagine that.
No. And I heard just the other day, you know who Steve Saka is?
I know
He's
the
a
name.
cigar creator. Anyway, he said he smokes on average about 10 a day, and he's been doing that for 25 years. Yeah. So he figured up that's about 75,000 cigars.
Yeah. I don't even know. I've never really thought about it. Now, I will say, in the lounge, and I typically am here afternoons and evenings, but in our shops that we do, our seasonal shops, the big Renaissance fairs around, when I'm doing that, part of selling it, and they're watching me roll them.
Sure.
I'm either smoking a cigar or or maybe a bowl of pipe tobacco, and I'm doing it from open to close, and maybe one before I open.
Well, I would think that while you're rolling, you got to have a cigar going.
So, on those days, there's no question I'll smoke 10, 15 in a day.
Wow.
But one of the things, and I think you'll notice this later today and tomorrow and so forth, when you're done with these, again, because it's aged, aging is a huge part of the tobacco. Again, the cigar can be brand new, but you want your tobacco to be aged. Tobacco having natural ammonias and things that happen, it breaks down over the years. So some people that will talk about having that burnt tongue taste or the back of their throat, or
they retrohale and it just ammonia, right through your
or waking up
nostrils.
the next day and tasting it. You don't do that with these. And I get that comment all the time that guys that have been smoking for years will now tell us frequently all they smoke is ours. They say, we'll still try something, but man, we just keep coming back. But again, organic and aged leaf, no matter whose stick you're getting, that's going to be my recommendation. There's some great sticks out there. Mine are not the only ones that are great by any means, and I recognize that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm enjoying this. I'm going to tell you, because I've never smoked your cigars, I'm always skeptical. You know what I mean? When you haven't heard of a cigar, you're like, all right, but I'll try anything once. Yeah. Cigar wise.
Oh yeah.
And
me too. I'll say, or I'll have the people that will give me. I had a good friend of mine who started off as a customer and became a real good friend. He was so happy. He came to me one day. He says, "I got you something special." I said, "What'd you get me?" He said, "I got you a Cohiba, a real Cohiba." I said, "You did? Where'd you get it from?" I didn't say anything more than that. I already knew it wasn't a real Cohiba.
Right.
Anybody that knows Cohiba can tell the label. There's a million counterfeits.
Oh, well, I follow a guy on Instagram named Big Smoke.
Yes, I follow.
Okay, so he showed like a whole new presentation of Cohibas, and they were fake.
Oh yeah,
and I mean,
I'll show you if you want. When we're done, I'll show you. I actually have some. Well, this buddy of mine, he gave me one. He was so happy, and I said to him, I said, "Steve, listen, man, I want you to know I always appreciate a cigar from anybody who's kind enough to think of me and get one for me." I said, "But just so you know, that's not a real Cohiba." He says, "How can you tell?" I'm 6 foot away from you. I said, "I'm looking at the ring." He says, "I'm 6 foot away from you." I said, "Bring it to me, I'll show you." And so I said, "But I'm going to smoke it anyway because I appreciate it." This thing, it was like doing a Wendy's Frosty or McDonald's milkshake through the straw. I thought my skull was going to collapse from the suction I had to have. It was so tight and it was so rank.
Oh, I bet it was rank.
It was rank, but I smoked it.
Wow, I'm impressed because a buddy of mine went on a cruise and brought me back a box of Cohibas.
Yeah, that's and folks, if you go on a cruise, unless you're actually cruising to Cuba, don't trust that it's a Cuban cigar.
Right.
And especially a Cohiba. A great Cohiba, when you smell it before you light it, you'll know it in a heartbeat. And, people always ask me, "Do you guys do Cubans?" Well, you can go to Cuba and you can bring them back with you. We cannot bring in bales of leaf. We cannot roll with Cuban leaf. And even if I could, all the great leaf anymore, it's all Cuban seed anyway. And
they just took the Cuban seed
using
over to Nicaragua, Dominican.
so the Dominican.
And the soil, I've heard, is actually better.
Right. Well,
in
they
Nicaragua.
haven't even think about this. Okay, so Castro took over in Cuba roughly 60 years ago, give or take. At that point, you had, his economy was, he still had a little bit, Kennedy, I don't know if you've heard this story or not. Before Kennedy put the embargo on Cuba, he went out and had some of his aides, and he smoked, what were the little ones he smoked? Were they the Lanceros, I think they were. But he had his aides go to every tobacco shop around D.C. and buy every Cuban he could get.
No way.
That's a true story. I've heard it over and over again. So he had enough stock. I mean, sadly, it lasted him the rest of his life, not because, he had so many it lasted, but, we all know what that was. But Cuba hasn't had the money to maintain their fields. If you don't have the money to, you still, whether it's rotation or fertilizing, even with organic, you still have to maintain.
Right.
And anybody that goes to Cuba will tell you it's still dirt poor. I'll have to show you after we're done. I do have a picture. One of my good customers had me do a box of cigars. I did a custom blend for him that he likes. And we do something unique in where if somebody wants a box, I don't have to get a whole box of, say, Maduros or Connecticut's or whatever specific ones they want. We'll do a mix and match, being a boutique, smaller company. But we also do, when you buy a box, we'll do a free custom label.
Oh, nice.
So he was telling me he's going to Cuba, and he said, "I'm going to go down. I'll bring you something back." I said, "Oh, great. I've had other customers do that." He says, but I want to get some of yours because I'm going to be on a cruise ship for several days before I get there. Anyhow, he emails me, or however he got it to me. I got a picture of him on the streets of Havana. You can tell that's where he's at. The old buildings, the old cars, the colors. It's no question where he says, and he sent me the note. He says, I got to tell you, I could not get a cigar I enjoyed as much as one of yours in Cuba.
Well, and something that I've heard is there's tons of Cuban counterfeit cigars in Cuba.
Yeah.
And they're buying them from other places, bringing them in because you can only get the really good Cubans at some of the actual manufacturers.
Right. If
but
you
like
go
on
to
the streets,
actual factories.
Yeah.
I've not been there. I do want to take a trip. Somewhere in my future, there is going to be a trip there.
Same here.
And I would love to see it. My aunt went a couple of years ago, and she told me, she says, you would have gotten a kick out of it. She said, I went into the factory, in their factories, it's just a big room. And if any of you haven't seen what they look like, you can pull up the pictures, just do a Google search with the images of Cuban cigar factories, and you'll see these tables. It's just tables of all these people rolling cigars. And of course, they want to keep them rolling. So, their entertainment, if you will, a lot of them don't read or write. So they actually have somebody, they have a book reader that sits up on a pedestal and reads books to the rollers all day.
Wow, that's cool.
And so she says, I go in there, and she says, it looked like a bunch of 90-year-olds, and she said the cloud of smoke was the thickest I'd ever seen.
So are they all smoking?
Yeah, because they're all smoking while they're rolling, which I do while I'm rolling as well. But I said, Aunt Sarah Beth, I said, they're all 25 years old. It's just anyway, just a joke. But but you're right. There are that. So be careful what you buy. And, especially, I would assume if you're listening to this podcast, you're a serious hobbyist at least, or you're getting into it.
Right.
But there are counterfeits out there.
Well, I've actually had 2 listeners that just went to Cuba and took pictures and all that good stuff. And, it's really cool the way they do the paint schemes over there. And they all have the 55 Chevy taxi cabs. Yeah. I was thinking, man, you could bring those 55 Chevys over here and they'd be worth a mint.
Right.
Down there, they're just another car.
Right. I've always had a hobby of collecting cars. Over the years, I'll have something I really like. Then somebody will say, hey, will you sell it? Everything's got a price for me. It's a bad hobby of mine. But I'm actually looking. I want to get something in the late 50s, early 60s. Just for fun, I would love to park it out in the shop.
Oh, that'd be nice.
And I used to have a 49 Chevy truck, and I did our caveman logo on the side, and I would take it to anything I'd promote.
You know what you need? You need a Cadillac.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Parked out front.
I'd love a 59.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
That'd be
59
beautiful.
Eldorado. Prices are a little high.
Yeah,
but yeah, I have actually. Almost daily. I go on all the various pages and I look at them. I'm a terrible insomniac. I think I told you last night I slept about an hour.
I think we have a lot in common.
Yeah. But so I get on eBay almost every night and I do my searches. I put my years that I want in my
right.
Cars. And I would love to get an old Cadillac or even heck, anything that's Lincoln. I'll tell you what, the Lincolns or even the early to mid 60s T-Birds.
Oh, yeah.
The little small ones are cute. The next version I thought was kind of not as attractive, but I liked that other one. I said, man, get something like that. I've had a couple of Cadillac convertibles over the years.
Oh, nice. Ones.
Yeah.
I even like the Buicks.
Well, yeah, give me a deuce and a half. Electra 225 or even something like an old Chrysler or a DeSoto or something like that. And I've had everything from Hudsons to I've had, I think, I've got to think for a minute. The truck that I'm driving today, the one that I parked out front, you saw, that one, I call it 141. And when I said that, my wife said, what do you call it, 141? So that's my 141st vehicle I've owned.
Wow.
So I've had a few vehicles over the years. But,
wow. Yes,
but I don't have any. I mean, my oldest is old, but it's got its antique license plates, on it. But it's a sports car. But I'd love to get something in a cruiser, a big cruiser.
Yeah.
And I just thought it'd be perfect.
Oh yeah, especially parked out in front.
Park out in front, and yeah. I've got a friend actually. He lives literally. He's as close to walking distance as you can get to the shop. He's got a 59 Fairlane. I have been trying to buy his blue and white two-tone 59 Fairlane from him for years.
Oh, those are beautiful too.
And I said, man, I would just love it. I should probably just pull it because he hasn't driven it. It needs some work, which I keep saying I'll do it for you. But I would just love to have it parked out front because it's an attention getter.
Yeah, and for me, I love the convertibles. Being a cigar smoker,
Oh, yeah.
You just have the top down, cruising around.
I've had, I don't even know if I thought about convertibles. I've got 2 convertibles currently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but over the years, I've had, I don't know. I probably had in that 141, probably about 20 or so, give or take, convertibles.
Wow.
And yeah, you can't beat it on a beautiful day, especially this time of year in this area. We've got all the wildflowers, the blue bonnets, and Indian paintbrushes, and we're hilly and curvy roads. People have images of Texas. If you haven't been here, because we're so massive in size, the landscape changes so much. But this area is known for its wildflowers, and we get tourists. And even the hill right in front of our shop on the front of the parking lot, I don't know if you noticed all the flowers there.
Oh, yeah.
But you drive around here, and there's people just stopped everywhere taking pictures. They just, of their kids or somebody laying out there. You'll have your girlfriend out there, and she's laying, with her beautiful dress, and give her a cigar. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Hey,
Sorry.
and what's funny is, though, people who aren't from around here, they come do that, and it's beautiful, but what they don't know is down below those flowers is fire ants.
Fire ants, absolutely. Isn't that true? And if you're not careful, maybe a rattlesnake.
Right?
Yeah. No.
Well, up from where I live, it's rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw in the news just a couple of weeks ago, a guy pulled 46 rattlesnakes out from underneath his house.
I saw
Yeah, that was where I live.
Yeah.
So
we're pretty fortunate. We have them here. I've not found that. We get a lot of copperheads, water moccasins, poisonous snakes. I've got a couple. We've got 3 dogs. We live out in the country, and I've got a dog that just loves to go after. She's been bit. And dogs can handle it a little bit better, but we've almost lost her a couple times. But she's also over the years built up an immunity. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Or the scorpions out of Texas one. But the flowers are beautiful. And my wife, I just saw walk in a second ago. We love to go out in a convertible this time of year and just cruise and just
it's the perfect time of year.
And
if you haven't been in Texas, the best weather is in March, April, and September, October.
Absolutely. And I mentioned we're going to be building a covered deck out back, and the whole idea is for this time of year and in fall.
Oh, absolutely.
And then in the summer, I'm going to do one of the mister kind of, where it puts that nice water mist. So if somebody did want to sit out there, although with a cigar, it can be a little bit detrimental if the wind's blowing the wrong way.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, is there anything else you want to let people know how to get in touch with you?
Well, I do a phone number, but that's always harder. Just if you can remember Marigols Fine Tobacco. You can also find us as Caveman Cigar Company.
Well, and I'll also put a link on my website. So any listeners, just go to my website under guests, and I'll have a picture of your place and a link that goes to your Facebook page, and then they can find every which way they want to find you.
We welcome people. Unlike some shops, our lounge is not open to just members. We do have memberships. We get some great benefits.
Awesome.
But come by if you're ever in the area. If you come here and you want to make a day of it or do a weekend, we've got I've got a friend of mine who has an 1890s inn here in town and a couple of B&Bs. And his 1890s inn, every room is themed, but it's all authentic furniture.
Really?
Except for the beds, because back then they were horsehair and they were a foot and a half wide. But other than the beds and the TVs, rooms are gorgeous. And the inn, I'll give him a plug if I can, the Ant Street Inn.
Absolutely.
Ant Street Inn is wonderful. He's on TripAdvisor and Yelp and everything. And we're also on TripAdvisor. So if you're in the area and you can't remember the name, but TripAdvisor's everywhere and you put cigar shops, we're going to come up.
Yeah, that's how I found you, because I was like, couldn't remember the name. A buddy of mine had come over here, and I saw pictures of the place, and I was like, I got to go by there for sure, because this is definitely a unique location, and the way you guys have decorated it made it just comfortable, and it just looks fantastic. It reminds me if I was to go back in time and go to Vegas.
Well, thank you. And again, that was our goal. I think we pulled it off pretty well.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Thanks.
So
helps having a wife who's an interior designer.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Well, man, we appreciate you being on the show.
I appreciate you taking the time to come visit, and thank you, and come back anytime.
Oh, I'm definitely coming back. Promise you that. All right, Bruce. Hey, I appreciate it. Hey guys, so a couple of weeks ago, a company up out of Kansas City sent me some cigars, and I wasn't real excited about them, I'll be honest with you, because they were like golf-related cigars, and I've smoked golf cigars on the golf course before, and Usually after about halfway through, you just kind of throw them out because they're nasty. But I didn't have my hopes up. But anyway, I started smoking the cigar and I was like, wow, it's not really my preferred profile because I go something a little darker. I like full body, medium, sometimes light to medium. But anyway, so it wasn't my regular, but what super impressed me about it was how smooth, how good the construction was. The draw was perfect, and it actually had some nice profile flavors. And it was funny because I was smoking the cigar that they call the Par, and it lasted me for like an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm a fast smoker, so I was thinking, you know what, this is actually a good cigar for if you're playing golf, because you can take it with you from hole to hole. And I mean, you are to be able to play a good 4, 5, 6 holes on this one cigar, and it was a really good cigar. So I decided I'd call up the guys and see the guys who gave them to me and see if they would be able to do an interview, and they said yes, so I appreciate that. So let's talk to them. I got Ty on the line. How are you doing today, Ty?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thanks so much for having us. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for the cigars. And I got to tell you, I think you really knocked it out of the park. I was really surprised at a good quality cigar that you have. And being, that you're selling them at golf courses, I think you could open up a market, not just at golf courses, because they're that good.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad you liked them. I knew you were more of a full-bodied guy, so we took a little bit of a risk because most of our golfers and the kind of the research we did, they're more mild to smooth, preferences out there on the course. But, we sent you 2 of our better ones that were actually rated the Par and the Birdie. And, we've kind of gotten the same feedback from everyone we've sent them to that, they can probably hold their own, in any almost cigar, humidor, or market.
Yeah, I was super impressed. And I did see that on the package that you sent, you had ratings on them, and I was impressed. I believe one was a 92.
The Birdie Stogie's a 94, and the Par cigar is an 89.
Okay, and 94. That's even better.
Yeah, and we were fortunate to get to pair up with those 2 cigars out of the factory that were they were out there, but they needed a new home, a new marketplace. So we got introduced to them. We were excited as hell just to be able to call them our own and then get them out in the market. So those 2 rated cigars are actually what makes up our celebratory series. And then we've got 3 other ones that are not rated, but lower in price range for those types of guys. And that makes up our pain easers. You picked up these awesome rated cigars. How did you get started in the business, Ty? So it actually came about by experience. It's kind of a funny story. I'm more on the golfer side than I am the cigar side, but I do enjoy a nice cigar, especially when I'm outside or on a nice day. But it's so funny. I was with 3 buddies and myself, and we were playing our Saturday foursome. I think it was like an 80-degree day in August, and we don't get many of those in Kansas City. So we were out enjoying the sunshine, and just so happened that on the 4th hole, 3 out of the 4 of us birdied that hole. We're all pretty average. Yeah, we're all pretty average golfers, handicaps in the 16 to 20 range. And for us to all birdie a hole in a round or even the same hole in a round is just a very unique experience. Yeah, so, that's cool. So we wanted to celebrate, and a buddy of mine, the next hole, we're on the 5th hole getting ready to tee off again, and he pulled out his celebratory birdie stogie. At the time he only had one, and it wasn't the original birdie stogie, we have on the market today, but it was what he claimed as his birdie stogie. God knows how long it's been sitting in his golf bag, but he pulled it out and started lighting it. And, me and my partner who birdied the hole with him, said, that smells pretty good. We'll take one of those. You got an extra? And he said, I normally have 4 in the bag, but I'm down to my last one. This is all I got. So the next, like you said, the 4 or 5 holes, we had to go smelling his nice cigar, and we didn't have anything to celebrate with. Yeah, you're probably kind of bummed out. Oh, we were, yeah. I mean, it just, our birdie didn't seem to be quite as nice as his. And so right. 2 weeks went by, actually, and I was still mad about the damn thing. And so, I decided, we need to make nice cigars that are catered to golfers. And that's kind of how the company started. So when you were coming up with your cigar line, how did you actually come up with the different cigars for the different names? Yeah, great question. So it's actually led off by the birdie. So we wanted to make sure that's one of the better scores you can get in golf, which means it's going to be one of the better cigars you can get from Green Side Cigars. So we did a bunch of research. We got to give all the credit to our manufacturers and our factories for putting it together. But so we started with the Birdie, came out as a torpedo. Both the Birdie and the Par come from Honduras. Obviously, we wanted to cater to our golfers, taste buds, which are going to be more medium to mild. And so we had the Birdie come out with the torpedo. And then we figured, let's bring in the Par a little bit bigger in the Churchill form. It is also from Honduras as well, as I mentioned, and another rated cigar. And then we figured, we had our 2 celebratory cigars, and we went and talked to a bunch of golf courses, and they said, these are phenomenal. We love them, but, we need a higher range. We need more. We want more to choose from. I said, okay. So we went back to the drawing board, and we said, let's give them some more options. So we kind of came up with what we called our Pain Easer series. So the celebratory series, the Birdies and the Pars are great to smoke when you do something well, but if you need an excuse where you're not playing golf very well and you need an excuse to smoke a cigar, that's what the Pain Easers are for.
Oh, well, that's probably my line.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot of people's line. But they're also great cigars. So these cigars will be in the $13 to $9 range, started by our Mulligan, which comes in a Robusto, another very light cigar, followed by our 3-Putt, which is retails at $11.99. It's a Corona. It's a little bit darker, but it's probably one of the smoothest cigars. And if I had to say, picking 1 out of 5 is like, picking your favorite children. But I'd say the 3-Putt is one of my favorites.
Oh, wow.
It's got it's a super smooth draw, and then it's got a sugar tip at the end that adds a little sweetness to it, which makes you drool like crazy and gives you a hard time making you put it down. But you have the 3-Putt, and then we have the Bogey Stogie, which is our hog, the Big Gordo. It's our cheapest cigar at $9. So you've got a wide range, anything from $18.99 to $9.99, and it suits any type of game. Whether you're a guy out there that does celebrate and make the Birdies and the Pars, or you're just a guy out there that needs to smoke to enjoy, help you relax when you're not having such a great round.
Absolutely.
Have a fun time out on the course.
Yeah, that sounds great. The only one you're missing is, and it would be like the unicorn, is you need one called the hole-in-one.
Oh, I know.
But then we'd never get to smoke it.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was going to be the problem. We had plans to incorporate that. We also had plans, and this may come out, next year as we continue to grow the business, but we want to get out a double bogey.
Oh,
and
nice.
I know you're a more bold, medium flavored guy or a dark Maduro guy. So we're thinking our double bogey will be our first kind of Maduro cigar.
Well, very nice. I look forward to trying that one for sure.
We'll make sure to get one in your hand. That's for sure.
All right. Well, sounds good, man. I don't know that I would ever get to smoke one of the Birdies because that's a very rarity for me. I might have to play 10 rounds before I got to a Birdie, but I would probably smoke it anyway just because I enjoy a good cigar.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the Birdies are great for, out on the decks or the patios and the clubhouses. Another funny story just about the Birdie is I went out, we're trying to test the market a little bit, and I went out with another foursome, and I always bring 4 Pars and 4 Birdies in my golf bag. And it was funny, at the end of the round, we had just 2 of us that actually birdied. We waited until the end of the round. We went and had a drink on the patio, and 2 of us that birdied lit up the Birdies, and we made sure that the guys that didn't birdie, they couldn't light one. They had to have a bar that day. And it just left for some bragging rights at the end of the round. It was kind of fun. You can't go wrong with either cigar, but it was more about the game.
Yeah, well, they're really great cigars. I'll tell you what, I was impressed, and like I said before, I wasn't expecting much because I've smoked some of the trashy golf course sticks before, and they're not anything that I would look forward to.
Being a golfer, I kind of noticed the same thing. I wouldn't say that I'm good enough to be able to tell the difference between a really high-rated and a non-rated cigar, but I could tell you the difference between a good one and a probably old or bad one. I think that's what the golfers in the golf industry was kind of getting treated, and it was hard getting just good cigars in the golf course. And I think that's why a lot of golfers were maybe reluctant to move into the cigar industry, So we're trying to change that, with our presentation, communicating the golf language to the guys and bringing really high quality cigars to those golf courses.
Well, that's awesome. Well, as I said before, I thought this cigar could actually compete in a regular market, not just the golf. Do you have any plans to expand?
Yeah, we do. In terms of expanding in the golf courses, we're expanding down to Atlanta and South Carolina. Right now, we're just in Kansas City. We are exclusively distributed to about 35 golf courses here in Kansas City, which there only being about 50 courses in the area. That's almost 70% of the market.
Very
that
nice.
are just selling only our cigars. Yeah. So we've done really well here. So we're branching out, and we're always looking for more help. To your listeners, if you guys are looking for some supplemental income, go on our website and apply, because we're always looking for territory reps that love golf and love cigars. Would be looking to push our product to the golf courses in your area. But we're also looking to get in some more humidor shops. Actually, the law just recently changed here in the state of Kansas, where liquor stores are now able to sell cigars as well.
Oh, nice.
We've seen an uptick in requests, and being included in a lot of the liquor stores. So, we're trying to branch out. It is tough. We do have that marketing hurdle of trying to get off the golf gimmick of a cigar. But we're hoping that, led by our celebratory series, the rated cigars, that'll help us kind of penetrate that market a little bit easier. And especially, when we get to talk with guys like you.
Yeah, and I think when people get to smoke it, they'll be like, this isn't just a golf course cigar. So, I think that's your whole objective, is to get it in the hands of people, because the cigar speaks for itself.
Absolutely. So that's definitely our goal. We want to get it to as many cigar aficionados as we can, so that we can get some great feedback from them. And in the cigar industry, it's real tight. If you have a big following and you like somebody's cigar, more likely than not, they're going to trust you and go and try it themselves as well. So we just like to make sure people are trying it and give us a shot before they put their own rating on it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And for anyone listening that wants to check them out, I've posted some photos over the last couple of weeks of cigars. Tell us how the listeners can look you up on your website or Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. Any type of search on Google. If you search any of our products, the Birdie Stogie Par Cigar, our Mulligan Cigar, 3-Putt, and the Bogey, more often than not, we're going to come up number one. So if you do a Google search for any of our 5 cigars, you're going to find us. Obviously, the website, greensidecigars.com. And then we're on all the social channels as well, at Golf Stogies, if you want to tag us on Instagram. But, we love showing photos of guys smoking cigars on the golf course, and having a good time. I think that always brings, warmth to everybody's heart, wishing that they would be there with you. But, so anywhere on the websites or any of the social outlets, we'd love to chat back with anybody that has tried or liked our cigars.
I'll leave a link on my website so they can find you as well.
That'd be great. And we also we're releasing a merchandise store on there as well. So if you actually become more than just a fan of the cigar or specific brand that we have, you'll be able to go online and order T-shirts or cigar cutters or any other golf accessories and apparel as well.
Oh, very nice.
That you can rep. Yeah.
Cool deal. Well, hey, Ty, we appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk with us and tell your story.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks again for having us on.
Well, I think things are going to be happening really good in your favor. So I look forward to seeing what happens, brother. Take care, and we will continue to smoke your stogies.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, thanks, Ty. Take care. Hey, and we welcome back Cigar Man Official. He's got our cigar tip of the week. How you doing today?
Doing excellent, Rob. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Hey, so what do you got for us this week on your cigar tips?
Well, this week I wanted to talk a little bit about humidors and the proper way to season a humidor.
Awesome.
So, humidors, if you're already a seasoned professional and you know what you're doing, it's not for you. But, there's a lot of smokers out there that are just getting into cigar smoking or have been smoking for a while, but haven't really invested in a humidor. And one of the first things you need to know is when you buy a humidor, it's very, very important that you properly prepare it to take and keep proper humidity for cigars. And
absolutely. And one of the things I want to say before you get started on this is something that someone shared with me way back when I first got started was definitely make sure that you buy a humidor large enough to hold the cigars that you're going to smoke on a monthly basis. Don't buy a travel humidor and think that's going to be your setup.
Right. No, definitely a humidor is a little bit of an investment, but it's a good investment to protect the cigars that you keep. Most guys, that are weekend hobbyist smokers, they go and buy the cigars at the cigar shop, maybe keep it in a bag for a couple of days, and then they'll smoke them. But, when you start getting to the point where you start, receiving cigars as gifts, or you're buying larger quantities of cigars, or, you're wanting to have access to cigars when you want them, it's definitely time to invest in a humidor. And, just a quick 101 on humidors. Humidors are made with Spanish cedar or mahogany. And what Spanish cedar is known for is the ability to retain or absorb water or absorb humidity. And so it's there. This has been around for hundreds of years, this technology, and it works. And
Right.
the whole idea of keeping a cigar humidified came in that they made them in Cuba initially, and the average relative humidity there was about 70 degrees, between 70 and 72 degrees. So when they would roll and make the cigars, they would be in that perfect condition. They didn't need a humidor.
Right.
But when you bring them to other parts of the world or other parts of the country, where we have a lot drier weather, and those cigars will dry out on you. So that's the whole purpose of the humidor, is to keep them at that relative humidity, ideal for smoking cigars.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about a first time. Let's say you buy your first humidor. Humidors don't really come seasoned, and seasoned means that you're getting it's fully soaked at a level that will maintain a relative humidity of between 64 and 72%. And so just all you need really is three things: a sponge, distilled water, and what else do you need? And
A humidor.
And a humidor. There you go. I just drew a blank there. But basically, yeah, you take distilled water, put it on a sponge or a wet cloth. And there's some people that don't like to do the wipe down method. There's two methods. You can wipe down the wood with a damp cloth or damp sponge, and you only want to use distilled water. You
Right.
do not want to use regular water that has minerals in it, because that will taint the wood.
Yeah, and also I was reading, if you use like regular tap water, those minerals help promote the growth of mold.
Yes, mold, and it'll make it susceptible to beetles as well.
Ah,
So, yeah, definitely do not use tap water or even filtered water. You want to use distilled water. And there's another solution. It's called 50-50 solution, or propylene glycol solution, which is 50% distilled water and 50% propylene glycol solution. And that basically will activate your humidor and your humidifier within the humidor. So you can get that at any cigar shop or online on Amazon. A lot of them sell it as humidor solution, they call it a lot of times, but it's just propylene glycol. So yeah, anyways, when you got a first time, you wipe down all the wood inside, you leave it for about 30-40 minutes until it's kind of dried out again. You'll see it dry out pretty quick the first time you do it. It's like, whoa, like no water even touched it. But the second and third time, you kind of want to do it up to 3 times, and over probably a 3-hour period. And that will properly soak in the water, or season the walls and the wooden floors of these humidors. And then you want a little bowl, either plastic or a metal bowl, and you put that in there with some distilled water, not very much, but with your sponge in there. So your sponge is kind of soaking wet.
okay.
And you leave that in there over the first 48 hours. That will make sure that the wood absorbs any other areas that you might have missed wiping down or anything. It all gets soaked in. So at that point, it takes about 72 hours to really properly season it, but you're good for a long time. After you do a seasoning, is first thing you do is you get a properly calibrated hygrometer, and they have analog and digital hygrometers. We'll go into that another time, but basically you want to make sure that is properly calibrated. But if you're losing humidity, that's when you want to re-soak it. If it's keeping a proper humidity level, you don't need to mess with it.
Right.
And yeah, and sometimes I'll tell people to add. They have beads that you can buy, or gel beads, and you put those in a little bottle, and you put distilled water in there, and that can help keep that humidity level up. So you're not going to have to take out all your cigars and recharge it or re-soak it. But I would definitely re-soak your humidors once a year at minimum. But if you start noticing a decline in your relative humidity, definitely consider doing it earlier.
And that probably has a lot to do with like the climate that you live in. Like you're in California and I'm in Texas, and we have a very drastic change as far as climates go. So our humidors dry out quite a bit faster than what yours would.
Well, everything dries out faster in Texas. Come on.
Right. Well, and I'm going to share this with everyone. Everybody knows I smoke a lot of cigars, but I'm also a little bit lazy when it comes to my humidor. So I purchased a product from Oasis. It's an automatic humidifier for your humidor, and basically you set it, and once you fix it up with the distilled water, you soak the reservoir for like 30 minutes, and then you put it in the humidor, and then it's good to go. I don't have to worry about what humidity it is all the time. I do have one of those Boveda butlers, which tells me what the humidity is, but I love it because I don't really have to do anything once I set it up.
Yeah, that Oasis product, I haven't used it, so I'm not familiar with it, but I've heard great things about it, that it maintains. You set the level you want, and it'll maintain that level for you.
And with that and the combination of the Boveda Butler, that Butler, like I go on my phone and it shows the relative humidity for each day for the last 30 days, so you can see how well it's performing. And I love the combination of the Oasis and the Boveda Butler.
So the Butler, you just got it as part of the Luxury Cigar Club.
Correct.
Subscription. Yeah, a lot of people are getting those, and I haven't seen it yet personally, but what you're saying is there's an app with it on your phone that basically talks to the Butler, and then you can measure, you can look at any point and see what the humidity is at that moment.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So I was looking at mine yesterday, and it's fluctuated like 71 to 72 for the last 8 days. So, I mean, I didn't go back further than that look, but I was just wanting to see how well the Oasis is keeping it humidified in there, and it's doing a great job.
Well, I think you're intimidating all the newbies that they have to use technology. Just know that what we're saying, this is all extras and fun stuff when you get, he's got, I mean, how many does your cigar humidor hold?
I have two humidors. One is my chest, got the glass top, and anyway, it holds about 150 cigars. And then I have my standing humidor, and it holds approximately 400 cigars.
Wow! Holy cow! Well, I'm way behind you. So I've got 3 humidors, and I started off. I'm going to give everybody a really good tip here. If you're thinking about buying a humidor, there's a great deal out there, and we'll talk about it. But basically, I bought mine online, and it was, I think, $30. Well, it is $30. It's Cigars International has never bought anything from them. They will give you a first-time deal, basically, where you can buy a nice desktop humidor for 50 cigars and 10 top-notch cigars. And I'll give the code out before we end the show here.
And that's for like a first-time buyer?
First-time buyer.
That's great.
And that's what I did. And that kind of got me started with my first humidor. It's a glass top opening. And basically started there. And then I got another humidor that I got. This is something I recommend. If you smoke any flavored cigars, try not to mix your flavored cigars with your regular cigars. It will taint them.
Yeah, I don't smoke flavored cigars, but I've always thought that you wouldn't want to have those next to each other.
Yeah, definitely. I keep them because we entertain, and I'll have the non-cigar smokers out there, first-timers, they enjoy a nice flavored cigar. So I do have it, and I have it in a smaller humidor. So that's a little tip as well. But then I have a larger humidor, holds 150. And so what I do is when I buy online, I usually let my cigars sit for 2 to 3 weeks minimum in one of my humidors. Then I move them over to my main humidor, which is the 150, and I know everything in there is smokable.
Nice.
And so that's kind of how I kind of transition my online purchases and then move them over to my regular smokers. It's something that as you get more cigars in hand, you want to kind of figure things out. But, if you're a first-time humidor purchaser, you got to season it. You got to prepare it for use. The reason is it will pull humidity from something. So if you put cigars, this is the downside. If you put cigars inside a humidor that has not been seasoned, it will quickly dry out your cigars because it will pull all the humidity out of the cigars for the wood.
Oh, that's a good tip. I didn't realize that. I mean, it makes sense, though. I just never have thought about that.
Everybody wants to stick their cigar, when they get a brand new humidor, they want to stick their cigars in it right away and not mess with it. But it's very important. Allow about 48 to 72 hours to properly get it ready, and you'll be happy for a long time.
There we go. A happy humidifier.
Like a happy humidifier, happy life.
That's right. All right, man. Well, hey, we appreciate the tip, and I know a lot of people that will be working to season their humidors now, so we appreciate that.
Hey, I'm going to give out that code. It's good till July of 2019. So it's SA7533.
Gotcha.
Use it and abuse it.
Gotcha.
Share it with your friends.
All right, man. Well, hey, we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Doug. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the show this week. Appreciate all our guests as always. And we say thank you to Cigar Man Official for his cigar tip. And now we'll get to the cigar pick of the week. It's going to be something a little different this week. I'm going with a Punch Egg Roll. If you haven't heard of this cigar, definitely see if you can find it. It's kind of a gimmick, but it turns out that it's a really good cigar. And the price point is crazy. It's $3.99 and it's a 4.5 by 50. And I tell you what, man, it's a really good cigar. So if you can find them, check them out. Anyway, we're going to do something a little different this week on Cigar Talk Trivia. We're going to take the first 30 correct answers from the individuals who send us those, and we're going to put in a drawing so everybody has a fair shot. Some people can't listen on day 1 or day 2, so we want to make it kind of fair for everyone. So anyway, the question this week is, if you go back to last week's episode where we revisited the train car, if you can tell us the name of the cigar company that did the event the night before we were there, the winner of the drawing will receive a free select draw cutter. It comes in a little velvet bag and a really cool cutter that they made. I've enjoyed using it, and I've got an extra one here I'm going to pass along to one of you guys. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we look forward to next week. And until next time, stay smoking, my friends.